Hey everyone, so a little while ago I flew over to the US to check out Project Scorpio at Microsoft's Redmond HQ, and I saw a lot of cool stuff. For a complete breakdown of the specs, for example, we got video content for that elsewhere on the channel, and we're going to be breaking out individual stories to give them the attention they deserve. And, well, the Xbox team's plans for backwards compatibility? Well, there is a lot we need to cover there, and for those of you who've got a range of Xbox One and Xbox 360 titles in your library, well, the rule of thumb is very simple. Whatever your Xbox One can run, Scorpio is going to run those software titles better than before. Okay, so in terms of Xbox One compatibility, there are two different approaches that Microsoft could have taken here. Now, hardware can be designed to closely match the original console, with upgrades sort of added on. So PS4 Pro does this, the same CPU, the same GPU, just faster, and a sort of butterfly-like design to the GPU to effectively double compute power. Or there's the more challenging approach, make the top tier hardware you want to make and deal with Back-Compat problems on a per game basis. And yes, that latter route is where Microsoft went with Scorpio. What that means is this: the full power of the Scorpio engine, the enhanced CPU, all 40 compute units, and a full 1172 MHz GPU. Yeah, I mean, that is what is going to be deployed on all of the Back-Compat titles. Oh yeah, and they've come up with a really impressive way to really make use of Scorpio's extra memory, but more on that in a bit. In fact, the way it was all presented to me was that Xbox One titles will benefit on Scorpio in 5 very specific aspects. First of all, performance. So short of a patch from the developer, 30 FPS games aren't going to suddenly run at 60 FPS or anything like that. But what we will see will be far more consistent performance closer to target frame rates. So here's a look at Mass Effect Andromeda on Xbox One. The engine aims for 30 FPS, but in heavy firefight scenes it can't really hit the target. The extra power of Scorpio can be brought to bear here in hopefully hitting that 30 FPS lock for a smoother, more consistent experience. Oh, and Back-Compat with Xbox One will also completely eliminate screen tearing, similar to what we've seen with Microsoft's work in getting its Xbox 360 titles running on Xbox One. And you can see the difference here with Bayonetta. Xbox One hands in similar, if not better, performance overall compared to 360, while image integrity is badly compromised on 360 with all that tearing. Now, to have this feature on Scorpio when dealing with Xbox One titles, yeah, I can really get on board with that, and I'm really looking forward to testing it. So, here's our go-to game for scalability testing. Project Cars, tested here on Xbox One and Xbox One S. The newer Xbox One S's faster GPU and ESRAM gives it quite a performance advantage in this stress test scenario, and we can't help but wonder how much faster it can actually be on Scorpio, and how much better it will look without all of that intrusive tearing. Secondly, games that use dynamic resolution scaling like Doom 2016, Gears of War 4, or more obviously Halo 5. These games trade pixels for frame rate dynamically, hoping to achieve a more optimal gameplay experience. Now in this scenario, we should expect to see all of these games lock to their highest possible resolution. Now it's important to stress that this won't be native 4K, not without a game developer specific patch at least. Scorpio will simply throw a ton of GPU power at the game that should allow it to run at its maximum resolution, as supported on Xbox One. So yeah, we're going to be especially interested to try The Witcher 3 here. The developers have always said that it runs with a dynamic resolution, but we've never actually seen it resolve more or less than 900p. Next up, a surprise, and a welcome one. Throughout this console generation, we've complained a fair bit about texture filtering looking a bit murky. There can be great quality art, but take ground textures for example. Viewed at oblique angles, it all looks a bit muddy. So here's Forza Motorsport 6. We're running the PC version here with filtering set to something equivalent to Xbox One settings. And now we've ramped up the texture filtering setting to full 16x anisotropic, exactly what Scorpio promises to provide. This is indeed quite an upgrade. So upgrade number 4 then, Game DVR. Now this is already pretty sweet on Xbox One, as you can run all the media capture features on Back-Compat titles. Scorpio's updated media block in the processor is capable of full 4K 60 video encoding using HEVC the new top-end compression system. Okay, so game DVR will obviously default to 1080p for Back-Compat. I mean, there's no point going much higher, but the move to high bitrate HEVC encoding means you get much better quality captures. And Microsoft is also introducing a new feature to let you move frame by frame through captures to extract the best possible screenshot. Okay, so we will round off with upgrade number 5, and it's a really cool one. Possibly saving the best to last? Well, we'll see. Loading times are a massive pain on the current generation of consoles, but moving to Scorpio allows Xbox One games to potentially load a whole lot faster. Okay, so a lot of loading time is actually dictated by the speed of the CPU. Assets stream from the disk into memory and then they are decompressed by the processor. Scorpio's extra 31% of CPU power will definitely help here. Now, secondly, there's also the fact that hard drive bandwidth on Scorpio is 50% wider than Xbox One, and that's there to facilitate quicker load times for 4K content. But for Back-Compat, it's an instant win when it comes to running older games. And finally, and perhaps most ingeniously, is the fact that Scorpio ships with more memory, 12 gigs in total, 8 of which are available to developers. Now that's compared to just 5 on Xbox One, leaving 3 gigs that would otherwise be left completely untouched. Microsoft's solution is to use this 3 gigs as a massive I/O cache, a RAM disk if you like, all of which sounds pretty awesome, right? Well, there's just one caveat here. By going the extra mile and fully unlocking Scorpio performance for Xbox One titles, this has opened the door to potential compatibility issues. Now, on PS4 Pro, the equivalent, somewhat less capable boost mode warns you about potential issues, but it's very much down to the user about whether they want to chance it or not. Most games, of course, run great, but oddities crop in on a small amount of titles. So obviously on the Pro, no problem at all, you turn off boost mode and the game will run just as it would on a regular PS4. Sorted. Now, for Scorpio, there is no way the design can run like a standard Xbox One. So instead, Microsoft has indeed looked at every single game and tweaked where necessary to ensure full compatibility. Now, like Pro's boost mode, only a tiny percentage of games are possibly affected. So maybe you won't get full anisotropic filtering, or maybe GPU power will be dialed back. But again, I'll stress, it's only a small amount of games that should have any issues at all, and in a worst case scenario, the title should run exactly as it would on Xbox One. Essentially, Microsoft are doing all the hard work for you to ensure that games just work. And with all that in mind, I'm actually quite curious to see how Xbox 360 games will run on Scorpio. Looking back at, say, Call of Duty 2, we've already seen Xbox One make strides with games with 60 FPS targets, getting much closer to optimal performance. I mean, Call of Duty 2, obviously it's a lot faster, but it's still not running at 60 frames per second consistently. But maybe with the additional CPU power and huge GPU bump with Scorpio, we might get there. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how Scorpio compares in that regard. Okay, so that's the score with backwards compatibility on Project Scorpio. Don't go in expecting improved resolutions on non-dynamic games, but increased texture quality, better performance, no tearing, and faster load times. Well, I'll take that. Do let us know what you think about all of this in the comments, but from me, for now, thanks for watching.